Kira stood before the entire pack and accepted the rejection of the man fate had chosen for her. Logan, their powerful alpha, had demanded it himself, so she gave him exactly what he wanted. Yet instead of relief, his scent sharpened with anger, and something almost like betrayal flashed through his eyes. Then he ordered her out of his sight. Kira obeyed without understanding one thing. If Logan truly wanted their mate bond destroyed, why did her acceptance seem to hurt him? Chapter 1. All little girls love fairy tales. Children in general do, really. What is there not to love? Magic, adventure, danger, intrigue. Those old stories seem to have everything. Of course, some people would argue that fairy tales have not aged particularly well. Princes kiss sleeping princesses without permission. Beasts imprison young women and somehow end up marrying them. Not exactly the lessons every parent wants to teach a child these days. Still, I always enjoyed a fairy tale now and then. The little girl inside me loved impossible acts of devotion, enchanted forests, and trials involving dragons. That was before a girl walked into our shop. A wolf shifter girl who loved fairy tales so much that some part of her still wanted them to be real. Unfortunately, reality had a cruel way of destroying such fantasies. Fairy tales could ruin lives. At least, they ruined hers. They ruined her alphas. And eventually, they became tangled with mine. Although perhaps my life had already been ruined long before that. I simply had not realized it yet. The crowd surrounding Kira had gone completely silent. Every mocking whisper had vanished. Every cruel remark had died before reaching another pair of ears. Everyone was staring at her now. Waiting. Expecting something. A reaction. Her reaction. They were shifters, after all, and shifters could detect weakness from astonishing distances. Kira drew in a slow breath. She would probably cry later, once she was behind a locked door, where no one could smell her tears or hear her breathing break. But not here. Not now. She glanced down at herself instead. A simple blue dress. Flat shoes. Light brown hair falling plainly around her shoulders. Nothing remarkable. Then she looked at Logan. He sat in the center of the reception hall, sprawled across a chair as though it were a throne. He did not need a crown. His presence alone dominated the room. Logan was silent, his full lips pressed together, and because their alpha said nothing, everyone else remained silent as well. Kira could not cry while he watched her. Not in front of the pack. Not when he was looking at her like that. Why? She asked. Her voice was barely louder than a breath. Immediately, she realized how ridiculous the question sounded. Why would someone like Logan choose someone like her? Logan was everything a pack wanted in a leader, and everything many women wanted in a man. Kira was, well, nothing important. A shifter without a wolf was barely considered a shifter at all. You dare question my judgment? Logan's voice remained controlled. There was almost no emotion in it. None of the warmth Kira remembered from him. None of the empathy he had once shown her. He was not merely the man she had loved for years. He was her alpha, and he belonged to a world she had never truly been part of. Kira lowered her voice. Of course not, Alpha. She should have bowed her head. Instinct demanded submission, even from someone without a wolf. But she could not find the strength. Instead, she stared at him. The overhead lighting sharpened the hard lines of Logan's face. His jaw was firm, shadowed with dark stubble. Yet it was his eyes that trapped her attention most completely. Dark amber. Powerful. Impossible to look away from. Good, Logan said. A shiver traveled down Kira's spine. For one humiliating second, she felt as though he had praised her. As though she had pleased him. Even though he had just rejected her. And pleasing Logan still felt good. Go on then. His posture tightened. He looked almost as if he expected her to refuse. As if she had ever been capable of refusing him anything important. Didn't he know? Didn't Logan understand how far she would go if it meant making his life easier? Kira opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Kira. Logan snapped her name. His broad shoulders tensed beneath his elegant dark shirt, the expensive fabric doing little to hide the strength beneath it. His anger immediately changed the room. The sharp scent of displeasure rolled outward. Pack members recoiled. Heads lowered. Shoulders bent. Submission spread instinctively beneath the invisible pressure of their alpha's authority. A few wolves even growled quietly at Kira for causing his irritation. She kept her head raised. Some frightened, irrational part of her wondered whether this might be the last time she ever saw him properly. His dark hair, his tanned skin, the shape of his mouth when he smiled. She forced herself to speak. I, Kira Ellis, accept your rejection. The calmness of her voice surprised even her. The words were spoken. The bond had barely begun, and already it had been severed before it could fully take root. Exactly as Logan wanted. Kira expected his scent to soften with relief. It didn't. Instead, Logan's lips curled into a snarl. Something flickered behind his eyes. Something so unexpected that Kira froze. It looked almost like betrayal. Why? She had done what he ordered. She had accepted. She had made this easy for him. Get out of my sight, Logan said. He turned his face away. Kira did not know whether he meant for the night or forever. She was too afraid to ask. Perhaps if she kept enough distance, he would let her remain in the pack. Not close to him. Never close. But perhaps not so far away that she would lose him entirely. Kira slowly turned. She crossed the reception hall beneath the stares of everyone in the pack. The moment she disappeared through the doorway, whispers erupted behind her. Mockery. Laughter. Cruel speculation. Kira kept walking. She did not look back. Chapter 2. Logan watched Kira disappear into the crowd. Her small figure moved steadily toward the exit until the people around her swallowed her from sight. Her faint floral scent vanished with her. She did not hurry. Her shoulders did not slump. Her posture remained perfect. No embarrassment, no grief, no resentment. Anyone watching might have assumed nothing important had happened, but Kira had always been like that. There was something distant about her. Not arrogance, not coldness. Just a strange, absent quality that separated her from everyone around her. Some healers had once called it dissociation. Logan remembered when it began. Kira had been 8 years old when her parents were murdered in front of her and she was taken hostage. Even now, Logan carried guilt over what happened. He had been 20 then. His father had died far too young, leaving Logan to become alpha before he felt prepared. Other wolves had sensed that inexperience immediately. No rogue would have dared touch one of their pack members while Logan's father still lived. But Logan had been new, young, untested. The rogues had seen an opportunity to pressure him. At least Logan had always been an excellent tracker. He found Kira. He let the rest of his pack deal with the rogues while he shifted into human form and approached the terrified little girl. Kira had no wolf, so he could not communicate with her telepathically. Besides, she had only been 8. He wanted to comfort her. He expected screaming, crying, questions. Instead, he found Kira tied up and waiting, calm, silent, ready to leave. She did not complain when he untied her. She did not cry while he carried her away. She did not cry when they returned home. Not once. Rumors followed. People said something inside Kira had broken. Others whispered that perhaps she was possessed. The truth was simpler. People did not understand her. And most people disliked what they could not understand. Alpha. Logan looked toward Clark. His beta, his oldest friend. They had trained together since childhood. Clark hesitated before continuing. Should I arrange some potential suitors for Kira? Logan frowned. Suitors? She's 18 now, and you've rejected her, as you should have. Clark said the last part quickly. We obviously can't have our alpha mating with a wolfless girl. Obviously, Logan replied. His voice sounded blank even to himself. Clark continued. She's of age, orphaned, and has a younger sister depending on her. I'm well aware of Kira's situation. Logan's answer came sharper than intended. Clark paused. Right. Which is why it might be wise to find her an appropriate mate. Logan shot to his feet. She's a child. Clark stared at him. Logan. She has time. Clark opened his mouth again. I won't hear another word about this. A growl roughened Logan's voice. He dismissed Clark with an impatient movement of his hand. Find Kira a mate? Ridiculous. She was too young. Besides, she needed time. Time to process what had happened. Time to grieve whatever connection fate had tried to force between them. She could not possibly be as indifferent as she had appeared during the rejection. Could she? The instant Kira turned 18, something invisible had begun pulling them toward each other. And when she had looked at him, Logan shut his eyes briefly. No, it did not matter how she had looked. It was finished. He would not have her. That was the end of it. Chapter 3. Kira remained awake long after the bedroom lights were turned off. Willow slept soundly beside her. Kira knew better than to make noise. Her little sister was 10, and unlike Kira, Willow had a wolf. She trained, she studied, she filled her days with purpose. Willow dreamed of becoming a warrior like their father. Dreams required rest. Kira refused to wake her. She allowed exactly one tear to escape. One. Then she breathed slowly, until the tightness in her throat eased. There was no point crying. Tears would not repair a rejected bond. Someone might hear her. She might worry Willow. Worse, she might embarrass the Thorne family, who had generously allowed the sisters to live in their home for the last 2 years. Surely it had already been humiliating enough for their alpha to discover Kira was his fated mate. She would not make his situation worse by responding to a perfectly understandable rejection with childish tears. Of course Logan would not choose her. He had a pack to consider. The pack needed a proper queen. At the absolute minimum, a queen should be capable of shifting. Kira could not. And even if Logan had ignored duty and followed his heart, there was no reason to believe his heart would ever choose her. Logan could have nearly any woman he wanted. In fact, he frequently did. Everyone knew about the women who came and went from his bed. He had never shown romantic interest in Kira. Why would he? She was not extraordinarily beautiful. She was not particularly interesting. She had no wolf, and until only hours ago, she had been a minor. There had been no reason for Logan to see her as a romantic possibility. Earlier that evening, Kira had turned 18. She considered her birthday almost irrelevant. She might have forgotten about it entirely if the party had not been organized around the occasion. Most of the evening, she had entertained herself by secretly glancing at Logan. She had become very skilled at that over the years. Then his gaze caught hers. Properly caught hers. Kira suddenly could not look away. Her breathing stopped. Logan began walking toward her from across the room. She assumed he would pass her. The thought alone made her happy. He would walk close enough for her to smell him. It had been years since she had enjoyed his scent from such a short distance. Instead, Logan stopped directly in front of her. He said something. Kira had no idea what. Her heartbeat was pounding too loudly in her ears. She felt dizzy. He stood so close. Then Logan took her hand and led her onto the dance floor. Kira should have worried that he was wasting his time. She should have remembered who he was and who she was. But then his hands settled against her hips. Her dress was thin enough that his warmth passed straight through the fabric. Every rational thought disappeared. Kira had loved Logan for nearly as long as she could remember. That love began the day he found her in the woods. The day he carried her home. He had whispered calming words to her. He remained beside her when the Alpha informed her that her parents were dead. He stayed when they took Kira and Willow to their first foster home. He watched as Kira placed the few possessions she still had in a strange bedroom. He stayed nearby while Kira helplessly watched another woman soothe baby Willow to sleep. Logan finally left after Kira herself fell asleep. The next morning he returned, and the morning after that, and again. Soon, waiting for Logan became one of the only things Kira knew how to do. Without him, she felt unanchored. As the years passed, Logan became busier. He stopped pampering the traumatized child she had once been. Responsibilities pulled him away, yet he continued watching over her from a greater distance. Kira never stopped feeling adrift whenever he was absent. But during that dance, in Logan's arms, the emptiness vanished. For the first time in years, Kira felt exactly where she belonged. Beside him, the sensation grew, first an impression, then a certainty. She belonged with Logan. And abruptly, he pulled away. His face went pale. His pupils widened. Then he said the impossible. Kira was his mate. For a moment, she did not understand. His mate? Her? Then everything made sense. She had heard stories about fated bonds. Logan's own parents had been fated mates. That overwhelming feeling of belonging had begun because Kira turned 18. Fate had awakened the bond. Hope exploded inside her chest. Hope was so unfamiliar that Kira almost did not recognize it. Then Logan recovered from his shock. Minutes later, he publicly rejected her. Rejected their bond. Rejected Kira. Rejected the feeling of belonging she had barely been allowed to touch. What else could she do except accept? Logan had looked horrified by the situation. She had never seen him so unsettled. His eyes had been wide, his movements restless. Perhaps he noticed the disgusted expressions around them. There had certainly been enough. Perhaps he finally understood what being bound to the pack's wolfless pariah would mean. Kira owed Logan everything. He had saved her life. He had given her more happiness than anyone else. He was her alpha. Her loyalty to him was complete. If he did not want her, she would not force herself upon him. All Kira wanted was to make his life easier. Her tears would not accomplish that. So she would keep them hidden. With that decision fixed in her mind, Kira eventually fell asleep shortly before sunrise. The very next day, Logan disappeared. Chapter 4. Willow shook Kira awake. Ordinarily, Kira would have cherished another minute beneath the blankets. But Willow looked unusually serious. "Clark is downstairs," she said. "He wants to see you." Kira blinked. "Logan's beta?" Willow stared at her. "Do you know another Clark?" Kira quickly tied her hair into a bun, pulled on trousers and a shirt, then hurried downstairs. Clark was seated in the Thorne family's living room. Mr. and Mrs. Thorne looked bewildered. Their daughter, Elma, stood nearby. Clark looked directly at Kira. "Kira." His greeting was almost polite. That alone was strange. His expression was guarded, careful. Kira's stomach tightened. Did something happen? "You tell me." She looked around the room. Everyone appeared tense. "Kira spent the entire day in her room yesterday," Willow said. "Whatever happened, she wouldn't know about it." Clark considered Willow. His gaze softened slightly. Then he looked back at Kira. "The alpha is missing." Several people gasped. Kira did not. She could not. She had to let those words enter slowly. If she allowed them to hit all at once, they might break something inside her. Logan was missing. Was he hurt? In danger? Had trackers been sent? What could Kira do? When would he return? How was she supposed to? Since when? Kira asked. Panic would help no one, especially Logan. Every frightened thought had to remain controlled. Clark's gaze hardened. Had she shown too much? Kira straightened. She was a member of this pack. Wolf or no wolf, she had responsibilities. She needed Clark to understand that she would not collapse. "Since when?" repeated. Clark grimaced. "According to Tessa." "Who's Tessa?" Willow interrupted. The woman he was with before he disappeared. Willow rolled her eyes. She muttered something about Logan's 100th lover. Clark ignored her. She's from a neighboring pack. They drank together and fell asleep. When she woke this morning, Logan was gone. No one has seen him for approximately 10 hours. Silence filled the room. Willow broke it. Maybe he's dead. Willow, Kira said sharply. Willow closed her mouth. Clark cleared his throat. People are wondering whether you've heard from him. It took Kira a moment to understand that he was speaking to her. No. Why would I? You're his mate. The words struck her like a physical blow. Kira refused to flinch. She was not Logan's mate. He had made that very clear. He had rejected the bond, as he should have. Kira did not consider herself his. She had no right to. I'm not, she said firmly. Or have you forgotten? Clark looked offended. For a moment, Kira thought he might argue. Instead, he stood. We're organizing a search. Every available tracker should meet us at the rendezvous point in 1 hour if Logan hasn't returned. Elma nodded. She was a trained tracker. I could help, Kira offered. Clark did not even acknowledge her. He walked out. Chapter 5. The damp earth beneath Logan's body was definitely not where he remembered falling asleep. He remembered Tessa's warm silk sheets, her perfume, the lingering pleasure of the night. Instead, he smelled wet soil and morning mist. Forest. Logan opened his eyes. The twisted trees and shadowed trails were familiar. These woods bordered his territory. But why was he here? Leaves rustled nearby. A stag approached somewhere beyond the brush. Logan recognized its scent immediately. Then he understood something else. He had shifted. When? Why? He had not transformed accidentally in his sleep for years. His control over his wolf was excellent. This made no sense. Perhaps he had drunk more than usual the previous evening. Tessa's company had been pleasant enough. Yet Logan had spent the entire night distracted by a strange sense that something was missing, as though he ought to be somewhere else, with someone else. He hated the feeling. So he drank. Then drank again. Clark and the others had spent the day bothering him about Kira, about finding her a mate, as if she were some inconvenience to be handed to the first available man. Logan would deal with that later. For now, he needed to return home. He followed instinct and moved through the forest. His paws barely made a sound against the leaves. His trackers had heavily marked these woods, making the route toward pack territory easy to follow. Kira was too young to be mated. That was the problem. Why did no one understand that? Besides, without a wolf, finding a suitable mate for her would be difficult. What Kira needed was protection. The pack's protection. His protection. She belonged to... Logan growled. He stopped the thought. Unfortunately, every thought about Kira eventually returned to the same memory. Her eyes widening during their dance. The happiness on her face when the mate bond appeared. As if fate itself had reached into her mind and convinced her she wanted him. Then Logan remembered his mother. Her empty stare. The bitterness constantly staining her scent. He remembered his parents arguing behind closed doors. Sometimes thinking was useless. Sometimes forgetting was safer. The pack's scent grew stronger. He had nearly reached home. Logan attempted to shift back. Nothing happened. He paused. It had been years since his body failed to obey him like this. He focused again. He summoned the human part of himself. Tried to push the wolf down. Control it. Restrain it. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. Instead of retreating, his wolf seemed to become stronger. The harder Logan fought for human thought, the further his rational mind drifted. Instinct expanded. Civilized thought weakened. The wolf claimed more space inside him. Soon very little of Logan remained. Only the beast. And the beast did not want to remain still. Wolves approached. Packmates. Their familiar scent prevented immediate aggression. They were his, not enemies. Then another scent appeared beneath theirs. Human, soft, floral, tempting. Every thought inside the wolf focused at once. Mate. Find mate. Now. Chapter 6. Kira ignored Clark's order. He had requested trackers only. Kira did not care. She could help, therefore she would. Her first stop was Tessa's home. Kira wanted to hear exactly what happened before Logan vanished. Tessa was beautiful. Dark hair, confident posture, a powerful shifter aura that would make weaker wolves instinctively lower their heads. At first, Tessa tried to dismiss Kira. She clearly felt she owed nothing to a wolfless girl. Kira simply remained standing there until Tessa became uncomfortable enough to talk. We both drank a lot, Tessa admitted. I was half asleep when I felt him moving during the night. Moving how? He was mumbling. In his sleep? Yes, but not normal nonsense. It sounded like he was talking to someone. Kira's attention sharpened. Or answering someone. Tessa hesitated. Maybe. It made me uncomfortable. Then he stopped, so I went back to sleep. When I woke up, he was gone. It was not much. Still, Kira memorized every detail. For perhaps the first time in years, she desperately wished she had a wolf. If she did, she might be able to follow Logan's scent, the way he once followed hers. He had found Kira when she was lost. The least she could do was try to find him. After leaving Tessa, Kira drove toward pack territory and entered the forest. She deliberately chose a route she knew the official trackers would not search first. There was no reason to cover identical ground. She moved deeper between the trees, studying broken branches, crushed plants, displaced stones. Everything a human tracker could use. Her lack of enhanced senses frustrated her. No supernatural smell. No powerful night vision. No wolf instincts. Only observation, training, and determination that might have bordered on foolishness. The farther she walked, the quieter the forest became. Too quiet. Kira stopped. Birdsong had vanished. Even the insects seemed still. Something unpleasant crawled along her spine. She examined her surroundings. A tree to the right had low branches. Too low. Anything pursuing her could probably reach them. Another tree stood farther left. Higher. Harder for a wolf to climb. Better. Something was nearby. Kira knew it. She held her breath. Nothing moved. Then, just as she prepared to run toward the tree, a wolf stepped from the shadows. White. Brilliantly white. Its fur caught the weak sunlight filtering through the canopy until the animal seemed almost luminous. Kira exhaled slowly. The wolf stopped. Muscle shifted beneath pristine fur. It was enormous. Larger than any shifter Kira remembered seeing. Its eyes carried too much intelligence to belong to an ordinary animal. The wolf did not appear immediately aggressive, but Kira did not recognize it. She remained ready to run. Again, she cursed her lack of a wolf. If she could shift, perhaps she could communicate with this stranger. Not as easily as with a packmate, but enough to establish intention. Instead, she stood there staring. The white wolf stared back. It felt as though the animal wanted something from her, wanted to say something. But Kira had no way to understand. The wolf moved closer. Slowly, deliberately. Kira tensed and glanced toward the tree. The wolf stopped. Then, unexpectedly, it sat, its head tilted. Not threatening, almost curious. A howl sounded in the distance. The white wolf's ears twitched. A low growl rolled from its throat. Kira stiffened, but the wolf was no longer looking at her. 3 shifters emerged through the trees. Trackers from Kira's pack. The white wolf instantly moved between them and Kira. Her packmates growled. Their hackles rose. Fury burned in their eyes. An unknown wolf had crossed their borders. The forest suddenly felt far too small. Everyone was ready to fight. "Don't!" Kira raised both hands. "It's all right. He didn't hurt me." The statement was foolish. Whether the wolf harmed Kira or not did not change the fact that it had entered marked territory. Kira turned partially toward the white wolf. "Maybe you should leave." The animal ignored her. It stood between Kira and her packmates again. Its body became a shield. Its fur bristled. A warning growl vibrated through its chest. Why? The stranger knew he was outnumbered. He knew he had trespassed. Why was he defending Kira? Everything happened too quickly. The pack wolves snarled. For one brief moment, the white wolf's overwhelming dominance caused hesitation. Their instincts wanted to submit. Then the stranger charged. White fur blurred through the forest. He slammed the first wolf to the ground. The other two attacked. The white wolf refused to retreat. Teeth tore into fur and flesh. "Stop," Kira screamed. The white wolf froze at her voice. Only for a second. Long enough for one of Kira's packmates to bite him. He growled in pain. Then more wolves arrived. Pack members poured between the trees, surrounding the stranger. A wall of fur and teeth. The white wolf was hopelessly outnumbered. A collective howl rose. Then everyone attacked. Claws slashed. Teeth flashed. Growls thundered through the forest. The stranger fought with terrifying intensity. One wolf after another. He blocked, dodged, bit, refused to fall, until exhaustion weakened him. A vicious strike caught his side. The white wolf yelped. The sound tore through Kira. Blood spread across beautiful white fur. His movements slowed. Another attack struck, then another. Finally, the enormous animal collapsed. Chapter 7. The white wolf never shifted back. That disturbed Kira more than she wanted to admit. Injured shifters usually return to human form after losing consciousness. Not always instantly, but eventually. Human bodies were easier for healers to treat. Yet the white wolf remained exactly as he had fallen. A chain had been fastened around his neck. The other end was secured to a large tree near the pack house. Kira could see him through the window while Clark questioned her. Still, bleeding, unconscious. "You say he appeared without warning?" Clark asked the same question for what felt like the 100th time. Kira stared through the glass. At this rate, the wolf might die before anyone even attempted treatment. "Why do you think he hasn't shifted back?" she asked. Clark's expression hardened. "I asked you a question, and I've already answered it," Kira finally snapped. Clark looked surprised. He quickly recovered. "Why do you keep looking at him?" Kira turned toward him. "Do you know who he is?" "No." "Then why did he fight for you?" "I don't know." "Kira." Clark leaned forward. "If you know anything, now is the time to say it. Our alpha is missing, in case you've forgotten." As if Kira could forget. "You think that wolf has something to do with Logan?" Clark stared at her. "First, everyone learns you're Logan's fated mate, then Logan disappears. Almost immediately afterward, a rogue crosses our borders and behaves as though you're his to protect." Kira frowned. "You think he killed Logan because he saw him as competition?" "Don't you? Why would he need to? Logan rejected me. If this rogue somehow wanted me as a mate, Logan isn't his rival anymore." Clark opened his mouth. Kira continued. "And I told you already. I've never seen that wolf before." "Then why are you worried about him?" Clark's question silenced her. Kira looked through the window again. At the chained animal. "I don't know." Her voice softened. "He's alone." And he was. Bleeding. Surrounded by strangers. Hated because no one knew him. No one understood being an outsider better than Kira. Clark exhaled. "Kira, Logan disappeared at the exact time this rogue entered our land. An alpha instinctively knows when a strange wolf trespasses. Logan probably sensed him and went to confront him. No, be realistic. Clark's voice sharpened. Logan is gone. This wolf is here, occupying his territory and trying to claim his mate. It isn't difficult to understand what probably happened. Kira shook her head. Logan was not dead. He couldn't be. This wolf killed our alpha, Clark continued. And under pack law, that could make him our new alpha. Kira stared. What? If there was a witness to the challenge. There wasn't. Not that we know. Someone from this rogue's pack could appear and claim there was. We don't even know where he comes from. Look at him. He can't shift back. He's probably feral. Clark stood. The pack will vote. Kira's throat tightened. But I can already tell you the outcome. He looked toward the white wolf. He will be executed for killing our alpha. Chapter 8. Willow had been capable of reading on her own for years, but she still preferred listening to Kira. There was something comforting about falling asleep to her sister's voice, especially when Kira told stories in which Willow already knew everything would eventually turn out well. Kira sat beside her bed with the old fairy tale collection resting open in her hands. And then, Beauty dreamed she walked beside a brook, surrounded by trees, mourning her unhappy fate. A young prince appeared, more handsome than anyone she had ever seen, and spoke in a voice that went straight to her heart. Willow listened with heavy eyelids. Kira continued. He told Beauty she was not as unfortunate as she believed. Here, she would be rewarded for all she had suffered. Every wish could be fulfilled if only she found him, regardless of his disguise. Kira glanced down at the page. The prince told her he loved her dearly, and that by making him happy, she would discover her own happiness. Willow opened one eye. That prince asks a lot from a woman he barely knows. Kira smiled. You've said that before. He's testing whether she loves him. It's not exactly a test of love. What is it then? Character. Kira adjusted the blanket around her sister. Can Beauty see beyond appearances and understand what truly matters? Willow considered that. And what do you think truly matters? Kira waited. Willow grinned. That her prince is filthy rich. Kira burst out laughing. Chapter 9. The wolf woke confused. His mate was gone. That thought arrived before almost anything else. Where was she? Darkness surrounded him. The scents were familiar. Pack. His pack. That should have been comforting. Instead, something felt wrong. Why had his own wolves attacked him? Why was there a chain around his neck? Where was his mate? The night was nearly black, but the wolf saw perfectly. A figure approached. Familiar. Packmate. Not a threat. They're talking about killing you. Hands reached for the chain. You don't look like yourself. You don't smell like yourself either. The person worked at the restraint. Are you even yourself right now? The wolf watched. Why aren't you talking? Human language. The wolf understood enough. Danger. Something wrong. Confusion. You need to leave before they hurt you. The chain loosened. The wolf hesitated. This was home, wasn't it? Go, Logan. The wolf froze. Logan. Human name. His name. Yes. This was his pack. His name was Logan. He should become human. He tried. Nothing. Memory returned in flashes. Rogue. Threat. Pack law. If they believed he had killed their alpha, they would kill him. He was injured. Outnumbered. He needed distance. But his mate, Kira. Her name was Kira. Kira was his. Number. She wasn't. He had refused that. He had. Go. Urgency in the voice struck something instinctive. The wolf finally turned. He disappeared into the woods. For now. Chapter 10. Kira must have fallen asleep. There was no other explanation for why she suddenly found herself back inside the pack house, wearing the pale blue dress from her birthday. Music played. Pack members surrounded her, and Logan held her in his arms. He was close. So close. His warm, woodsy scent filled Kira's lungs. She wished she had a wolf, if only so she could smell him even more clearly. Logan drew back enough to cup her face. "They're whispering," Kira said. The pack stood everywhere around them, watching. Logan did not answer. Instead, he placed a soft kiss near the corner of her mouth. "You're my mate," he whispered. He sounded happy. That was wrong. This was definitely a dream. He had not been happy when the bond appeared. He had looked shocked, then horrified. "I'm not," Kira said. Logan stiffened. "Not anymore." Pain crossed his face. "Why would you say that?" Kira suddenly wanted to cry. How dare he ask? He knew. "You're gone," she whispered. "You've been gone for weeks." Logan tightened his arms around her. "I'm right here. You rejected me." The words hurt more inside the dream than they had when Kira first accepted them. "You accepted," Logan replied. Kira's eyes opened. She was in bed, alone except for Willow sleeping nearby. Tears streamed down her face. Chapter 11. The white wolf was gone. Logan was gone. And Kira no longer knew what to do with herself. 2 weeks had passed. Nothing. Trackers searched the woods every day. No trace of Logan. No reliable trace of the white wolf. A pack without an alpha could not remain stable forever. Wolves depended on hierarchy. Clark did his best to hold everyone together. But Logan had no siblings and no heir. If he did not return, someone would eventually claim leadership. The strongest contender would rise. Perhaps the white wolf would return. If he truly killed Logan, he could attempt to claim the pack. If not, another ambitious alpha might. No one had acted yet. That restraint would not last forever. Kira should have been frightened for herself. A new alpha might not tolerate a wolfless adult. She could be banished. Kira could survive that. Willow was the problem. Willow would follow her. That was exactly what frightened Kira. Her sister had a wolf. She needed a pack. She needed training, hierarchy, guidance. But Willow was loyal enough to choose Kira over her own well-being. If Kira left, who would Willow sleep beside? Who would read fairy tales to her? Who would tell her stories about their parents? Kira needed a plan. She needed to become useful enough that whoever became alpha would allow her to remain. But planning was difficult, while every thought eventually returned to Logan. She refused to give up on him. Late one night, Willow slept beside her while Kira continued reading aloud. Her sister could no longer hear. Kira kept reading anyway. The stories comforted her more than they comforted Willow. As a child, Kira had always adored fairy tales. Her parents found it charming, until Kira turned 8 without developing a wolf. Every other child her age had shifted or begun training. Her parents became worried. Perhaps happily ever after stories were not practical enough for a child who was already different. Kira wanted to make them proud, so she packed away her fairy tale books and tried to become sensible. Then her parents died. They had been traveling to visit friends in another pack. Rogues attacked. Kira never learned why. Money? Anger? Desperation? Perhaps they hoped to pressure the alpha. There were 3 attackers. 2 men, 1 woman. They were in wolf form. They killed Kira's parents and took her. She remained their hostage for 6 days. On the 7th day, help arrived. Logan arrived. Before that, Kira had barely noticed him. He was 12 years older. The alpha's heir. A gifted shifter. There was no reason for a boy like him to spend time with a little wolfless girl. But Logan led the search. One moment, Kira was tied to a tree, too terrified even to cry. The next, wolves attacked her captors. Yet Kira barely noticed the fight. All she saw was Logan shifting into human form and kneeling in front of her. He cut her restraints himself, then lifted her into his arms and carried her to safety. Exactly like the princes in her illustrated books. For weeks afterward, nightmares woke her. Her parents' deaths. Blood. The rogue's eyes. When fear became unbearable, Kira imagined Logan whispering to her, carrying her home. Rogues had killed her parents for reasons she still did not understand. Logan had saved her. Now another rogue had possibly taken Logan from her. Kira could not stand aside again. If the white wolf had killed Logan, she would make certain it never harmed anyone else. Chapter 12. Every shifter learned to hunt. It was practical training. It taught control. It allowed wolves to release energy without fighting each other. Most hunted in wolf form, sometimes in human form, since shifters retained enhanced abilities either way. Kira had no wolf, so she learned differently. From childhood, she trained as a human hunter. She practiced stealth, studied tracks, learned what broken branches meant, how displaced leaves revealed movement, how wind changed scent, how prey chose routes through different terrain. She mastered bows, traps, improvised weapons. She learned to use ordinary hearing and vision as efficiently as possible because she had nothing supernatural to depend upon. Her instructors taught her to move silently, to observe before acting, to use intelligence where other shifters relied on claws. After her instructor died, almost everyone forgot Kira possessed those skills. Kira did not. Now she had prey. The white wolf was still somewhere nearby. She could feel it. At night, she dreamed about him. White fur, dark eyes, always running just ahead of her. Never frightened. Almost as if he enjoyed being chased. He would disappear before she caught him. But the dreams always carried the promise that he would return. If Kira failed to stop him, he could hurt the pack. He could hurt her. Most importantly, he had already taken Logan. At least, that was what Kira believed. She was not the only one searching. Pack patrols combed the forest day and night. Some searched for the white wolf. Others still looked for Logan. Almost 2 months had passed. Few people believed their alpha remained alive. If Logan could have contacted them, surely he would have. Without an alpha, the pack's behavior had become increasingly unstable. Kira sometimes wondered whether they would all become feral if the uncertainty continued long enough. Every night, she entered the forest alone. She knew patrol routes well enough to avoid them. She chose areas the others ignored. She climbed tall trees with her bow, waited, watched. The white wolf had fought almost 6 shifters at once. Kira had no illusion that she could defeat him physically. But if the animal truly could no longer become human, then perhaps he no longer thought like one. That gave Kira an advantage. Night after night, nothing happened. Until one evening, something white moved between the trees. Kira nearly dismissed it as imagination. Then she saw it again. A flash of brilliant fur. Her heartbeat accelerated. She lifted her bow, steadied her breathing, aimed, released. The arrow cut through the night. At the final instant, the wolf moved left. The arrow missed his head by inches. Kira cursed. She immediately prepared another. The white wolf was already running. If she let him disappear now, who knew when he would return? Who else knew what he had done to Logan? No one. Only this wolf. And he would answer for it. Kira jumped from the tree. She landed hard but balanced, then sprinted after him. Branches whipped past. Roots threatened her footing. Her training took control. She moved through the forest quickly, refusing to lose sight of white fur. Eventually, the wolf slowed. He entered a clearing. Clouds covered most of the moon. The wolf turned. Deep blue eyes locked onto Kira. She raised her bow. One arrow remained. Then the impossible happened. The white wolf lowered himself. Submission. His body pressed toward the ground. His eyes never left hers. Was it surrender? A challenge? A plea? Kira's hand trembled. The arrow shook against the string. Then she imagined Logan dying beneath those teeth. She released. The arrow struck. The wolf made almost no sound. A rising wind suddenly pushed apart the clouds. Moonlight poured into the clearing. The white fur gleamed around the bloody wound. Then the fur vanished. Human skin appeared. Kira gasped. The wolf's body changed. Limbs reshaped. Muscle shifted. A naked man lay where the animal had fallen. Kira gripped the handle of her knife and approached. His face was turned away. She saw broad shoulders, a powerful back. Then she noticed a small birthmark below his left shoulder blade. Kira knew that mark. She had stared at it countless times as a child, while secretly watching a young alpha train. Her entire body went cold. Number. Impossible. Logan? The man groaned. It sounded like him. It also sounded like someone who had just been shot, because an arrow was buried in his side. Kira's arrow. Logan slowly turned his face. Blue eyes struggled to focus on her. Kira could not tell whether he looked more shocked to be recognized, or more shocked that she had shot him. Chapter 13. Logan's head rested across Kira's lap. His shoulders and chest were bare. Kira had covered the rest of him with her cloak. He had pulled the arrow out himself with one harsh movement. Under ordinary circumstances, a shifter healed quickly. Unfortunately, the arrow had carried something else. "I'm sorry," Kira whispered. Concern twisted her face. "I coated it with the sedative we use when hunting bears." Logan smiled faintly. She had tracked him, cornered him, shot him. He was impressed. Clever. He tried to lift a hand toward her face. His arm failed halfway. The drug was powerful. His eyelids felt unbearably heavy. "Don't fall asleep, Alpha." Kira shook him. Logan groaned. He wanted to bury his nose against her and breathe in her scent until sleep took him. Then Kira spoke again. "I thought you were dead." Tears filled her eyes. "Everyone thinks you're dead." Her palm settled against his cheek. Her floral scent reached him. Kira's scent was weaker than those of most shifters because she had no wolf. Logan knew it anyway. Trusted it. It was soft enough to make him want to move closer. Half dazed, he rubbed his nose against her wrist. He should not. Kira was not his. But the wolf inside him disagreed. "What happened to you?" she asked. Logan tried to think. "I don't know." He swallowed. "I woke up in wolf form. At first I didn't realize I couldn't shift back. By the time I understood, I was already losing myself." "Losing yourself?" "When I normally shift, the wolf is more primal, but I'm still present. I know who I am." He shut his eyes. "This is different. I lose time. I forget myself. Except?" Kira had noticed the hesitation. Logan opened his eyes. "I don't know." It was not quite true. Sometimes something pulled him back. A scent. A need. "Kira. It comes back occasionally. Only for moments. You're back now." Relief warmed her voice. "When you recover, we'll return to the pack." "I don't know how long I'll stay human." Kira went still. "I don't think this is over." "Do you think that? Or do you know? The wolf is still close inside my mind. Too close." Something else moved through him too. An unfamiliar energy. A wrongness. "I think it's magic." "Magic?" Logan nodded. Kira looked as if the world might collapse. That expression reminded him unpleasantly of his mother. "You'll be fine, kid." Kira frowned. "Don't waste time worrying about me." "I'm not a kid." Her voice sharpened. "And of course I'm worried. The pack needs you." Logan almost smiled. "There are already discussions about replacing you as Alpha." His eyes opened fully. "What?" "Clark has been approached by Alpha Hudson. That idiot from Ironwood?" "The very same." Kira sighed. "I wasn't invited to their conversation, but we both know he didn't suddenly appear because he's concerned about our welfare." Logan pushed through the sedative haze. "Hudson wants territory. He'd use my absence to expand." "Exactly. He probably won't attack openly. He'll try to force some kind of alliance. Kira nodded. Logan seized her hand. Listen carefully. Then he told her what she needed to do. Kira protested. He answered. She questioned his plan. He explained. She argued again. Logan remained practical, direct, and certain until each objection disappeared. They talked for the rest of the night. And when the moon vanished and morning light replaced it, Logan vanished too. The white wolf stood in his place. Chapter 14. The council chamber was filled with tension. Pack representatives argued over what should happen next. Alpha Hudson's proposal had become increasingly difficult to ignore. Under normal circumstances, no one would have considered placing themselves beneath the ambitious leader of a neighboring, lower-status pack. But their own pack needed an alpha. There were far worse men than Hudson. The most qualified internal candidate was Clark. Yet Clark had refused to claim leadership. That frightened everyone else. If Logan's own beta did not believe he could lead, why would another warrior think himself capable? Slowly, reluctantly, support shifted toward Hudson. Then the chamber doors opened. Kira walked inside. Conversation stopped. Every head turned. She looked exactly as ordinary as ever. Young, pale, light brown hair. Oversized clothing. Nothing about her appearance suggested power. Her eyes did. Kira entered with a hard, steady gaze that made several wolves uncomfortable. A few sneered. Wolves respected hierarchy. That did not mean they enjoyed submission. Authority had to be earned. Kira stopped in the center of the room. We will not support Alpha Hudson's attempt to expand his pack. Several people stared. Kira continued. Does anyone here actually want his proposal? Disbelieving murmurs spread. A seasoned warrior named Marcus laughed. You're a child, Kira. You have no business in this meeting. Kira looked directly at him. I am our alpha's mate. The room quieted. He has no heir. That makes me the closest thing this pack currently has to a replacement. Someone scoffed. Kira continued. And every pack member has the right to attend council sessions if they choose. Or have you forgotten that in your old age, Marcus? The warrior growled. Kira ignored him. For years, these wolves had barely noticed her. Now she stood among them with her head raised. Unmoved. Certain. An elder finally snorted. Logan rejected you. You have no claim. Kira's gaze snapped toward him. Any laughter died immediately. He has not taken another mate. She spoke calmly. Under our laws, that leaves me recognized as his mate in the interim. That caused louder discussion. Some nodded reluctantly. Others exchanged uneasy looks. Kira stepped forward. Logan would never allow this pack to bow to Alpha Hudson. Their values are incompatible. Clark raised an eyebrow. Fine, Alpha's mate. He knew what Logan had instructed her to say. But Kira needed to convince everyone else. If Hudson doesn't lead us, who do you propose? Kira smiled. It was not warm. It was the expression of someone who had already decided how this would end. I will. Silence. With Clark's assistance. Someone laughed. You don't even have a wolf. Kira did not flinch. But I do have a wolf. The doors opened again. A gigantic white wolf entered the chamber. Every voice died. Blue eyes swept across the gathered shifters. Dominance rolled through the room. The same beast they had once chained now walked calmly to Kira's side. Protective, possessive, terrifying. Kira crossed the room. Then she sat in the alpha's chair. The white wolf lowered himself beside her like a silent guard. No one challenged the sight. Kira rested her hands calmly. If anyone wants this pack, they may challenge my authority by fighting my wolf. She glanced toward the massive animal, then smiled with almost childish innocence. Good luck with that. Chapter 15. Willow paced around the bedroom. Let me understand this. Kira watched her. Logan has somehow been turned into a gigantic white wolf that nobody recognizes. Yes. And while he's stuck as a wolf, you're going to act as alpha. Temporarily. You. Willow stared. Then a huge grin spread across her face. That is bloody brilliant. Kira narrowed her eyes. You've been reading Harry Potter again, haven't you? Think what would have happened if we ended up with Hudson. Willow looked delighted. Everything is fixed. Nothing is fixed. Kira pointed at Logan. The white wolf sat nearby. Our alpha is still trapped like this. Willow's smile weakened. Kira stood. And I don't know how long I can keep pretending I know what I'm doing. I still don't understand how I convinced everyone to let me lead. Logan growled. Kira looked at him. Yes, I know. Confidence. Willow stared between them. You can talk to him? No. Kira sighed. We spoke last night when he temporarily shifted back. We developed signals so he can help me with decisions. She looked at Logan. But we need a permanent solution. How? I'm visiting the magician tomorrow. Willow went pale. The magician? Her voice cracked. The one who grants wishes? No, Willow. The fake magician who hides cards in his sleeves. Kira gave her a flat look. Yes. The one who grants wishes. Willow swallowed. Kira, that man is dangerous. I know. He grants wishes for a price. Whatever the price is, I'll pay it. Logan growled immediately. Kira ignored him. There was no other reasonable option. Logan believed magic had caused his condition. If magic created it, perhaps only magic could remove it. And only one person nearby was rumored to possess that kind of power. The magician. Unfortunately, almost everyone who had asked him for a wish regretted doing so for the rest of their lives. Chapter 16. Kira walked along the main street of a small town she had not visited in years. Old buildings leaned beside one another. Paint peeled from their walls. Crooked signs hung above small shops. Weathered cobblestones appeared through cracked asphalt. A diner steamed up its windows. Thrift stores crowded the street. Kira felt an odd mixture of nostalgia and anxiety. She remembered coming here with her parents. They had bought her ice cream, then a book. Not just any book. The old collection of fairy tales she still read to Willow. They had found it inside a dusty bookstore after the modern shop down the street failed to carry the kind of stories Kira wanted. Kira turned onto a smaller road. The bookstore was still there. When she had been a child, its owner had been a strange young man. Copper-colored hair, pale green eyes, handsome in an unsettling way. He had winked at Kira and made her laugh. Her parents paid quickly and hurried her away. He has magic, her father told her. Then he warned her never to return. Dark magic, her mother added. She held Kira's hand tightly. Stay away from that place. Naturally, that only made Kira more curious. Later, she heard stories. Someone from a neighboring pack supposedly visited the man and asked for an impossible wish. The wish came true. Perhaps that same man could help Logan. Kira opened the bookstore door. A weak bell rang above her. The smell of old paper immediately surrounded her. Books rose in unstable towers. Cracked spines. Faded covers. Dust floated through thin beams of sunlight. Strange artifacts crowded shelves and tables. The room seemed almost aware of her. Listening, waiting. Kira's heart beat faster. Then she saw the young woman behind the counter. I had expected another ordinary day. Instead, a young shifter walked into our shop carrying the unmistakable expression of someone desperate enough to make a wish. Hello, she said. Can I help you? I was already considering how to convince her to leave. We received plenty of shifters. This one was hardly intimidating. Light brown hair, pale skin, maybe 18 or 19. I assumed she wanted a stronger wolf. Shifters seemed obsessed with strength. Or dominance. Or sex, depending on the season. I was wondering if the magician is here. She sounded almost embarrassed by the word. I sighed. She seemed nice. Too young for this. Look, you don't want to do this. The girl blinked. So I continued before she could argue. Yes, he can grant a wish. And no, he cannot refuse if you insist. He is literally required to grant it, even if the wish is stupid. Her expression changed. In exchange, he'll take whatever matters most to you. She frowned. What matters most? It's rarely what you expect. I studied her. What's your name? Kira. Then she said something that made me dislike the situation even more. I've already lost what matters most. I don't want anything for myself. I only need to help my alpha. Of course. Shifter girls and their alphas. They called it a pack. Sometimes I thought it sounded more like a harem. I'll get him. I had no choice. If a client insisted, I was required to call Adrian. Just as Adrian was required to grant the wish if they insisted strongly enough. He hated it. I had worked for him for more than a year. Every wish put him in a terrible mood afterward. Considering Adrian's usual moods, that was impressive. Adrian was old. Very old. He did not look it. He appeared perhaps 30. But I knew he was immortal, and somehow trapped in this shop and in the role he performed. He never explained much. I crossed the portal leading into the back. The rear of the shop did not look like a room. It was an enormous field, covered with flowers beneath an endless sunset. I had no idea whether Adrian created it. It simply existed. Something beyond that beautiful field always felt slightly sinister. That was where Adrian went when he wanted to drink alone. Recently, he had been doing that often. A small part of me hoped he would be too drunk to work. Kira seemed kind. I already knew Adrian would hate taking anything from her. Unfortunately, I found him awake. His gaze was completely clear. A client is here. He looked at me, cold, unreadable. I hurried to defend myself. I tried to make her leave. Adrian rose without saying anything. He passed through the portal. I followed. My assistant explained the rules. That was Adrian's version of a greeting. He dropped into a chair near Kira. She stared. The girl clearly recognized him. Years had passed since she first met the bookstore owner. Adrian had not aged by a single day. Same thin face. Same strange eyes. Same sharp cheekbones. Are you mute? He asked. Kira jumped. No. Sorry. I moved nearer to her. Partly because it was my job to make clients comfortable. Mostly because Adrian's supernatural presence intimidated nearly everyone except me. I was human. His dark aura did not make me submit. It mostly made me annoyed when he left dirty glasses everywhere. What do you want? Adrian asked. Kira clenched her hands. My alpha has been trapped in wolf form for several weeks. We don't know why. I was hoping you could help. Adrian looked away for a moment. Then he said something I had never heard him say to a client. No. I nearly dropped what I was holding. Sorry, Adrian continued. I can't help you. Kira stared. I thought you couldn't refuse. Normally, I can't. Adrian's gaze returned to her. But your case is an exception. Why? Your alpha has been cursed. Kira's eyes widened. Cursed? How do you know? Who would do that? Adrian smiled. Carelessly. Almost mockingly. I knew him well enough to recognize the mask. That's easy. He leaned back. I did. Chapter 17. Logan watched Kira review the documents in front of her. She read portions aloud for his benefit. She did not need to. Logan already understood the dispute. Alpha Hudson was challenging the pack over territorial borders after losing his opportunity to absorb them peacefully. Logan knew exactly how he wanted the situation handled. If Kira required guidance, he could signal using the system they had established. A touch of his nose against her hand. a movement against her leg. But the issue was simple. Kira would probably solve it without him. Clark knew their territory well enough to guide her where necessary. Logan's greater concern was that Kira continued blaming herself for failing to make a wish. If Logan could speak, he would tell her he was relieved. He did not want her sacrificing anything for him. He was the alpha. Sacrifices were his responsibility. The thought of Kira losing whatever mattered most to her because of him was unbearable. Still, the magician's revelation created questions. Why had he cursed Logan? Someone must have wished for it. But who? Hudson? Another enemy? And why trap Logan as a wolf rather than simply wish him dead? None of it made sense. Being stuck in wolf form made careful thinking more difficult. Since reuniting with Kira, Logan had not completely lost himself again. He was aware, mostly, but instincts constantly pressed against rational thought. Smells became overwhelming. Sounds distracted him. Emotions hit harder. Kira's voice helped. It was lower than many women her age. Calm, measured, almost blank. People mistook that blankness for a lack of feeling. Logan now understood the opposite was true. Kira felt deeply. She hid it because she did not want to burden anyone else. She was considerate, strong, independent, inexperienced, certainly, but observant, far more observant than anyone had given her credit for. During the single night Logan remained human, he had explained pack responsibilities to her. There had been far too much information for a few hours. Kira absorbed everything. No panic, no complaints, no dramatics. She was doing an excellent job. She would have made an excellent mate. The thought came naturally. Logan watched her tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. He had been fortunate that fate selected someone like Kira. Not that it changed anything. He had always thought highly of her. He had cared about her long before discovering the bond. But he still could not have her. He was not right for her. Eventually, he would make her unhappy. The better Logan came to know Kira, the less he regretted rejecting the bond. She deserved more than an older man she had admired since childhood. She deserved more than blind devotion created by gratitude and fate. Kira believed she loved him because he had once rescued her. Because he was alpha. Because a supernatural bond told her she belonged beside him. Logan knew what fate could do. He had watched his parents. Fate was not freedom. Kira deserved a choice. Even if that choice eventually took her away from him. Chapter 18. Willow had suddenly decided to sleep in her own bedroom. Kira considered it a miracle. For years, Willow refused to sleep anywhere except beside her sister. Apparently, sharing the room with an enormous white wolf who barely slept finally changed her mind. If Logan stays, I'm leaving, Willow had announced. She did not seem particularly upset by the arrangement. Kira found that suspicious. Still, after years of trying to encourage Willow to sleep alone, she did not question the victory. What Kira had not expected was how difficult Willow's absence would feel. She had grown accustomed to a warm body beside her. Without it, old nightmares returned. Night after night, Kira woke frightened without remembering exactly what she had dreamed. Each time, Logan was there. His muzzle pressed against her cheek, his presence drawing her away from the past. Eventually, he began climbing onto the bed. Kira would wake with both hands buried in his white fur. She felt mildly embarrassed. Not embarrassed enough to ask him to stop. Comfort had never come easily to Kira. She refused to reject it now. Then one night, Kira woke against something that was definitely not fur. Warm skin, a broad chest, human muscle beneath her palms. Her eyes opened. Logan. Human Logan. He was asleep beside her. Moonlight fell across his face. Without the usual weight of leadership, his features looked peaceful, almost vulnerable. Kira barely breathed. She should wake him. She knew that. Instead, she watched. His chest rose and fell steadily. A loose strand of dark hair rested across his forehead. Kira lifted a hand. She brushed it away. That tiny touch sent warmth through her. Her fingers drifted along his arm. Muscle shifted beneath smooth skin. The closeness, the silence, the forbidden freedom to touch the man she had loved for years. Everything became too much. Kira remembered who she used to be, the girl who would never dare. But that girl had recently stood before an entire council and claimed temporary leadership of a wolf pack without possessing a wolf herself. Maybe she could dare a little more. And who knew when Logan would become human again? Kira leaned down. She kissed the corner of his mouth. Logan breathed out softly. He did not wake. Kira's pulse raced. She kissed him again, this time directly on the lips. Then again, and again. A large hand suddenly tightened around her upper arm. Kira? Logan sounded half asleep. His eyes opened. Soft confusion disappeared. Something darker replaced it. Not anger. Something Kira was afraid to name. His face was inches from hers. She kissed him again. Logan's hands moved to her back. His breath caught. Then he returned the kiss. Harder. Deeper. He pressed her into the mattress. Heat rushed through Kira. She wrapped her arms around his neck. She had almost no experience. For once, she did not care. Something beyond reason seemed to pull them together. Kira wanted to surrender to it. Then Logan broke away. We can't. He sat upright. Kira stared at his back. One moment he had been close enough to breathe against. Now he felt impossibly distant. The unreachable alpha again. The man she could never truly have. I'm never going to be good enough for you, am I? The words escaped before Kira could stop them. Logan turned. What? His voice softened. Kira looked away. I did everything you asked. Kira, I took over the pack because you asked me to. I think I'm doing an acceptable job. Of course you are. Then why? Her voice broke. Tears appeared. Kira hated them immediately. Weakness. Emotion without control. A future alpha's mate should be better than this. She was already disadvantaged by having no wolf. She could not afford to become irrational too. Yet the tears continued. Never mind. Kira stood. Wait. She ran from the room. Logan called after her. Kira ignored him. Running away was childish. There were countless important things they needed to discuss during the limited time he could speak. Yet Kira could not return. She could not put her feelings away quickly enough to behave as the pack required. And in that moment, she understood. Of course Logan rejected her. She was not fit for an alpha. She was not right for him. Chapter 19. Kira returned to Adrian. Again. And again. His answer never changed. Once a wish is made, it cannot be undone until I die. Unfortunately, Adrian was immortal. Kira tried other approaches. Could she make another wish? Could one wish cancel the first? No. That was effectively the same as reversing an existing wish. Impossible. Every visit ended the same way. Kira would listen. Her shoulders would fall. She would leave. And after she was gone, Adrian's mood would become terrible. I could tell Logan's curse bothered him. The longer it lasted, the worse Adrian became. He had not chosen to curse Logan. Someone requested it. Adrian could not refuse. Those were the rules. I had lived with him since my father died. Worked beside him. Shared this bizarre existence. Yet I still did not know who created the rules. I did not even know whether Adrian created them himself. At first, I had not questioned much. My father had died. Then somehow I ended up living with an immortal magician in a shop connected to an endless sunset field. That was enough to process. Over time, however, the unfairness became difficult to ignore. People walked into our shop. They demanded miracles. Adrian was forced to obey. Then he suffered because of their choices. He had a conscience, a rather inconvenient one. And despite having no ability to refuse, guilt still consumed him. I also felt sorry for myself. Adrian was the only person I had left. He was already strange and unstable without desperate strangers constantly demanding wishes. Every time Kira visited, she left him miserable, and I was the one cleaning up the bottles afterward. That continued for nearly a year. Then one day, Kira arrived looking worse than usual. I'm worried about Logan. Her eyes were full of grief. He's different. I frowned. Different how? Usually, even when he's a wolf, I can tell he's still inside, watching, listening. She swallowed. But lately, there seems to be less of Logan and more of the wolf. You think he's losing his humanity? Kira nodded. The first time he shifted, when he was living alone in the forest, he warned me that could happen. But after he returned to the pack, he improved. I thought that part was over. Adrian stood in the back of the shop throwing darts. He looked as if he were ignoring everything. Then he spoke. He's been a wolf too long. Kira turned. If the curse isn't broken, eventually the wolf will consume what remains of his human mind. Kira went pale. What? His humanity will continue fading until there is none left. Why? She sounded devastated. Why would you do something so terrible to him? Adrian sent her an irritated look. Because someone wished for it. Have you ignored everything I've told you? Tears gathered in Kira's eyes. How could anyone be cruel enough to wish that on him? Logan has done nothing wrong. Adrian's expression changed. Hasn't he? Kira froze. He hasn't. Adrian looked directly into her eyes. Didn't he reject you? Kira stared at him. She looked as if he had struck her. Then she turned and ran. The moment she left, Adrian pressed a hand against his chest. His face became terrifyingly pale. What's wrong? I moved toward him. He ignored me and lowered himself to the floor. Then I understood. You weren't supposed to tell her that. Adrian said nothing. You broke a rule. Breaking rules hurt him. Physically. He rarely admitted it. He hid pain too well. But now that I understood what to look for, I suspected it hurt far more than he ever allowed me to see. I clenched my hands. Then ran outside. Kira had already reached the street. Wait. She stopped. Did not turn. I'm sorry about your alpha. I meant it. But your questions are hurting Adrian. Kira glanced back. Adrian? That's his name. Something sad crossed her face. No one ever seemed to ask his name. Oh. Don't come back. Kira's shoulders lowered. He told you the truth. He cannot help your alpha. Trying to force answers from him only hurts him. She remained silent, then walked away. Chapter 20. Kira now lived inside the pack house. Willow lived there too. So did Logan. Clark practically lived there. And then there was Joy. Joy was a beautiful woman in her early 50s who looked perhaps 15 years younger because shifters aged slowly. She was thin, too thin. Some days she forgot to eat. She spent hours staring through windows as though waiting for something that would never return. Her eyes were the same striking blue as Logan's. Joy was his mother. Kira often sat beside her. Most people found Joy's silence disturbing. Kira found it comforting. Perhaps because Joy's emptiness resembled the ache Logan's absence left inside Kira. Only Willow and Joy knew the truth about Logan's condition. Kira believed a mother had the right to know what happened to her son. She had hoped the truth would comfort Joy. It did not. The death of Joy's mate had destroyed her. They were fated, Clark once explained. Losing any mate hurts. Losing a fated one is worse. Sometimes Kira wondered whether Joy was truly alive anymore. Her body continued, but everything else seemed to have stopped. When Kira first explained Logan's curse, Joy did not react. She simply stared forward. Then, eventually, she spoke in a rough voice unused to conversation. When he became alpha, I told him I wished he had died instead of his father. Kira froze. Joy sounded cold. Detached. You were grieving. Kira chose her words carefully. You didn't mean it. Joy turned toward her. It was one of the only times Kira remembered Logan's mother meeting her eyes. I did mean it. Kira's stomach tightened. I still mean it. Joy looked away again. That's how I know about your magician. Kira stared. I could have wished my mate back to life, but I was afraid the magician would take my son as payment. Her voice did not change. So I did not make the wish. Joy's hands rested motionless in her lap. It was a choice. It is a choice I continue making every day. She paused. And it hurts. Logan never visited his mother. Kira finally understood why. Joy's words horrified her. Perhaps because of that, Kira began spending even more time beside her. Every day she read aloud. She told herself the stories might soothe Joy. Some quieter part of Kira also hoped that if Joy remained occupied, she would never become desperate enough to wish for something that could harm Logan. For almost a year, Kira read to her. Then one day, she chose a particular story. Valmon, the White Bear, Kira said. It's one of my favorites. Joy gave no response. Kira opened the familiar book. Once upon a time, there was a king with 3 daughters. 2 were ugly and cruel, but the third was gentle and beautiful. She knew the story almost by heart. One night, the third daughter dreamed of a golden wreath so beautiful that afterward she believed she could not live without possessing it. Kira turned the page. Later, while walking through the forest, she saw a white bear. Between his paws was the exact golden wreath from her dream. The princess wanted it. The bear agreed to give it to her under one condition. She must become his. Because the princess believed life without the wreath was unbearable, she agreed. Willow had always complained about that part. What kind of wreath could convince a princess to marry a bear? Kira usually told her it was symbolic. Love. Fate. Besides, the bear was not truly a bear. The princess traveled with him to an extraordinary castle. It was so magnificent that her father's castle appeared almost poor by comparison. She lived surrounded by every luxury. The white bear disappeared during the day. But at night, Kira stopped reading, her eyes fixed on the sentence. The white bear was away during the day, but he returned at night. And at night, he was a man. Kira stared. Those words had once been underlined in pencil. Someone later tried to erase the mark, but Kira could still see it, still feel the indentation beneath her fingertip. At night, he was a man. Something cold settled inside her stomach. Number. It meant nothing. Logan became human at night during the full moon. That was different. Completely different. And Logan was a wolf. Not a bear. A white wolf. Not a white bear. Kira tried to continue. The princess betrayed the prince, then had to rescue him, but the sentence remained inside her head. A white creature during the day, a man at night. How could anyone wish such a horrible curse upon Logan? Logan had done nothing wrong. Didn't he reject you? Adrian's forbidden question returned. At the time, Kira had felt hurt, almost accused, as if she might somehow be responsible. She would never harm Logan. Never. Who could consider Logan's rejection a crime serious enough to deserve punishment? Everyone in the pack believed he was right to reject a wolfless mate. Everyone. Except one person. One person who had never cared whether Kira possessed a wolf. One person who had always believed Logan was wrong. Kira looked down at the old fairy tale book. She did not finish the story. Instead, she began to cry. Chapter 21. How could you? Kira's voice sounded almost empty. Willow stared at the book. The underlined sentence. The eraser marks. She did not deny anything. Instead, her mouth formed a stubborn pout. Then she lifted her chin. He rejected you. He was a fool. Kira's restraint shattered. So you cursed him? I only wanted to make things better. Willow's confidence weakened. I was trying to help you. Kira stood. Do you understand what you've done? Her voice rose. Her heartbeat hammered painfully. Part of her mind still rejected what she had discovered. Willow was a good child. Loyal, kind, young. Surely her little sister could not have done something so terrible. You'll see. Willow looked almost desperate. It's going to work out. That made the truth worse. She sincerely believed it. She believed the curse had been good. He's our alpha. Kira's hands shook. The pack hasn't been the same since he changed. Willow's eyes flickered. Logan hasn't been the same, Kira continued. He's losing himself. His condition is affecting everyone, even Willow. Her eyes were beginning to glow dangerous gold. Everyone in the pack had become more volatile during Logan's deterioration. Everyone except Kira. She had no wolf to respond instinctively to the alpha's increasingly feral state. The curse can be broken, Willow said. Kira froze. What? It can be broken. It will be. How? Willow looked away. Tell me. I can't. Kira's anger surged. Why? If I tell you, it won't work. Kira grabbed the hem of her own shirt to stop her hands from trembling. Tell me now, Willow. No. I am ordering you. No. Willow shoved her. Kira hit the ground. Everything happened at once. Willow stood over her, teeth bared. Her young face looked almost feral. Then Logan charged into the room. The white wolf placed himself between them. A brutal growl shook his chest. Willow refused to back down. Under any other circumstances, Kira might have admired how quickly her sister began shifting. Not now. Willow was transforming because she intended to fight Logan. Her alpha. Kira's mate. A wolf at least 5 times larger. One strike could kill her. Zop. Kira jumped between them. She knew what Logan intended before he moved. The white wolf launched forward. Kira raised her arm. His teeth closed around it. Pain exploded. Fangs tore through flesh, possibly into bone. Kira screamed. Clark burst into the room. Several other shifters followed, growling, snarling, ready to attack. Kira barely saw them. Logan jumped through the window. He disappeared into the forest. Kira felt his departure more than she saw it. Because distance from him had always hurt, now it felt unbearable. Chapter 22. This has gone far enough. Clark stood before the gathered pack. We allowed that rogue to live among us too long. Kira sat nearby, dazed by pain and by Logan's absence. Clark continued. He attacked Willow. He hurt Kira. His voice became harder. I say we hunt him and kill him before he harms anyone else. Agreement erupted. Growls, shouts, bloodlust spread from wolf to wolf. Kira watched in horror. They did not understand. Logan's increasing aggression had infected the pack through hierarchy. He was still their alpha. Kira had temporarily replaced him in practical matters, but the deeper bond between alpha and wolves remained. Logan was becoming more feral. So were they. Now the pack wanted to kill the very creature influencing their violence. Kira tried to speak. No one heard. She had no wolf. No way to reach the primal instincts overwhelming everyone around her. Stop. Willow stood. Until now, she had crouched beside Kira in shock, too horrified by what happened to become caught in the same frenzy. It's my fault. The room changed. Questions erupted. Willow raised her voice. Don't hurt Logan. He doesn't know what he's doing. Clark turned. What are you talking about? The white wolf. Willow swallowed. It's Logan. Silence. Then disbelief. What? He's been Logan the entire time. Clark stared. How? Willow looked at Kira. After Logan rejected Kira, I went to the magician. Kira closed her eyes. I made a wish. I asked him to curse Logan into the white wolf. Gasps filled the room. I made a mistake. I thought I was helping. Someone shouted. Our alpha has been trapped like this for a year because of that magician? Yes, Willow whispered. But we can fix it. Clark's eyes became dangerously bright. We'll make the magician fix it. No. Willow stepped forward. Wait, that's not. Shut your mouth. Clark bared his teeth. You've done enough. He looked around. We save our alpha. Cheers answered. Willow's eyes widened. Listen, the magician literally cannot break the curse while he's alive. Clark went still. Then his expression changed. But he could, if he were dead. Willow paled. That's not what I meant. Clark grabbed her arm. Let's go free our alpha. More growls of approval. Who's with me? Kira forced herself upright. Clark. He couldn't refuse the wish. Blaming him won't solve anything. Clark motioned to another shifter. The man seized Kira. If you're not with us, you're against us. Clark barely sounded like himself. Lock these two up. He turned toward the pack. Everyone else, shift. His eyes burned with violence. We have a magician to deal with. The magician could be dangerous. But the pack no longer cared. Kira and Willow were locked inside the pack house with Joy, the only other shifter who seemed unaffected by the mass frenzy. Through the windows, Kira watched wolves disappear toward Grimswood. Oh God. Her injured arm throbbed. They're going to kill him. Kira. Willow grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. Kira turned. There's another way to break the curse. What? I'll tell you. Willow looked terrified. But you cannot tell Logan. He has to do it willingly, or it won't work. Kira stared. Even if I could tell him, he wouldn't understand. You saw him. He's barely himself. You're the only person who can bring him back. Willow tightened her grip. I made sure of it. Kira wanted to ignore her. Willow was a child. A child who had made a disastrous decision, hidden it for a year, and nearly driven an entire pack insane. But Willow was also her sister, her only remaining family. And despite everything, Willow had always stood on Kira's side. There was no other option. Kira met her eyes. All right. Chapter 23. I knew something was wrong before I saw anything. Dread pressed down on me so heavily that breathing became difficult. Danger. Death. Something. I opened my eyes. For a moment, I wanted to hide beneath the blankets. An old childhood reflex. I was not a child anymore. So I forced myself out of bed and looked through the window. Wolves filled the street. Dozens of them. Their golden eyes glowed through the morning fog. They looked like ghosts emerging from mist. Except ghosts probably would have frightened me less. They were coming directly toward the shop. Adrian! I ran downstairs. I did not know whether I was warning him or searching for reassurance. Probably both. He already stood beside the front door. Fully dressed. Hair disordered, as though he had only recently awakened. There are shifters. I know. His calmness gave me a small amount of hope. Can you stop them? I imagined portals, spells, anything that could take us somewhere far away. They want to save their alpha. Adrian glanced outside. Hard to blame them. Then he smiled at me. Kindly. I had almost never seen Adrian smile like that. I immediately hated it. My dread worsened. Come here. I did not want to. Every instinct told me to run away from the front door. Still, I approached. Maybe the softness in Adrian's eyes confused me. Maybe it was magic. I never found out. He reached into his pocket. A small locket appeared in his hand. Adrian placed it around my neck. For protection. I touched it. You'll be fine, he said. I swear. I opened my mouth. Then his lips touched my forehead. My mind went blank. Adrian had never touched me like that. Perhaps he had barely touched me at all. Before I could understand what I felt, he opened the door. He stepped outside. then closed it behind himself. Come back. I reached for the handle. Locked. I pulled harder. Nothing. Magic. It had to be. Adrian. He ignored me. He had locked me inside. He intended to face the wolves alone. I shouted his name again. This time my voice broke. Howls echoed down the street. The wolves arrived. Chapter 24. Kira ran through the forest calling Logan's name. She was not a tracker. She had no wolf. At the moment, she barely had enough control over her thoughts to think clearly. Fear consumed everything. A red cloak flew behind her. Willow had told her to wear it. The color would draw Logan's attention, perhaps provoke his wolf. That was exactly what Kira needed. She wanted him to chase, no matter how frightening the thought was. Kira ran until her lungs burned. She was athletic. At least she had that. Her body, her determination, her love. She prayed it would be enough. What if Logan had already gone too far? Not merely physically. He could have crossed the borders and entered land belonging to another pack. He could encounter humans, hunters. Someone could kill him when he attacked without understanding. But physical distance frightened Kira less than what might be happening inside his mind. What if Logan's human self had already retreated too deeply? What if only the wolf remained? Then Kira would be bound to a beast. The thought should have frightened her away. It didn't. Beast or man, Logan was still Logan somewhere. She had wanted him for years. She wanted him now. Kira felt his gaze before she saw him. The sensation was like approaching danger. She stopped. A shiver passed through her. Then she waited. She had waited years for Logan. She could manage another moment. The white wolf emerged. His eyes were no longer blue. They glowed red. Bloodshot. Wrong. Monstrous. Kira raised her chin. The wolf growled. She did something every survival instinct told her not to do. She exposed her neck. Submission. Invitation. Logan's body tightened. Another growl. He looked like a beast trapped inside the cage of his own mind. Kira barely breathed. The wolf shifted his weight, a tiny movement. It had to be enough. Come and get me. Then Kira turned and ran. She did not look back. If Logan followed, checking would only slow her. If he did not, she had no plan beyond continuing. Kira heard something behind her. Pause. Maybe. A growl. Perhaps a howl. She ran faster, until the wolf caught her. Willow's explanation echoed inside her mind. I was worried he'd be too stubborn, so I added something else to the wish. If enough time passed and he still hadn't broken the curse, his wolf would eventually take control and do it for him. Insurance. That was what Willow called it. Her sister's insurance slammed Kira into the ground. Her face struck damp earth. Pain exploded through her head. She rolled onto her back. Massive paws pinned her beside the head. Fangs hovered inches from her face. Red eyes stared down. Predator. Prey. Kira understood exactly what predators did. She closed her eyes, then slowly exposed her neck again. Total submission. I'm yours. The thought filled her mind. Make me yours. Logan's teeth pierced her neck. Kira gasped. Pain burned through her. This was not how mate claims were normally made. It did not matter. Kira wrapped her arms around the wolf. White fur changed beneath her hands. Smooth skin replaced it. Logan remained above her. Human. His mouth was still against her neck. Eventually he released her. His eyes remained red. Kira. His voice sounded rough, almost inhuman. Kira stared at him. I'm going to bite you back. Logan frowned. Then you'll belong to me the way I belong to you. Something vulnerable entered his face. We'll bond. Kira held his gaze. The way we should have from the beginning. You don't mean that. I do. You don't understand a fated bond. Yes, I do. Kira touched his face. I met your mother. Logan went still. I know what can happen. I know the risk. She swallowed. I'll choose you anyway, if you'll choose me. Pain crossed Logan's face. You're young. So? I'm your alpha. I know. I saved you when you were a child. I remember. You think this is love because of that. I love you. It's infatuation. His voice was less certain. I'm much older than you. You deserve a choice. Kira gripped his face harder. I do deserve a choice. She stared directly into his red eyes. And I'm choosing you. Something inside Logan changed. Kira took a breath. Do you choose me? For a terrible moment, he said nothing. Then the red began disappearing from his eyes. Slowly. Blue returned. Warm, human, full of emotion Kira had waited years to see. Logan smiled, then nodded. Kira smiled back, and bit him, hard. Her teeth broke the skin of his neck. Logan groaned. Blood filled Kira's mouth. He kissed her before she could pull away. After years of distance, rejection, and fear, Logan finally claimed her without resistance. Kira had no wolf, yet in that moment she had never felt less human, never felt more connected to the instincts everyone around her had always believed she lacked. She tasted his blood, felt his hands, his body against hers. The forest was not safe. Their pack was in danger. A magician might be facing death. There were countless reasons to stop. Neither of them cared. Kira tangled her hands into Logan's hair. They held each other with the desperation of two people who had spent far too long fighting something they both wanted. And for the first time, Kira wondered if perhaps she had always been wolf enough for him. Chapter 25. Adrian was on the ground. A gigantic wolf stood over him. Its body pinned him down. Its jaws lowered toward his throat. I screamed from inside the shop. The door still would not open. I could do nothing. That was the worst part. Adrian had known. He had known what could happen when he stepped outside. And he went anyway. I would love to believe it was some noble attempt to protect me. Perhaps an act of redemption. But the expression on his face told a different story. The wolf prepared to tear open his throat. Adrian looked almost relieved. Then the wolf froze. Every wolf froze. All around the street, bodies that had been tense with violence suddenly relaxed. The unnatural fury vanished from their eyes. They looked aware again. Human, even while trapped inside wolf bodies. One by one, they backed away. Then they left. The wolf standing over Adrian remained a little longer. Eventually, he followed Adrian into the shop. The door opened normally. The shifter changed into human form. I don't know what happened to us. He looked horrified. I'm sorry. Adrian shrugged. It's fine. Fine? They had almost murdered him. It was the curse, Adrian explained. It's been broken. The man introduced himself as Clark before leaving again. His head hung low with shame. Adrian looked toward me. Well, he smiled awkwardly. That was close. I said nothing. He studied my face. Want to go out for breakfast? I turned away, then locked myself inside my bedroom. I stayed there for the rest of the day. Thinking about the expression I had seen on Adrian's face when he believed the wolf was about to kill him. You're welcome, Willow said. Kira and Logan had returned to the pack house holding hands. They looked, in Willow's opinion, disgustingly happy. Don't push it, Kira replied. Then she and Logan disappeared into their bedroom. Willow barely saw either of them for several days. She could hardly complain. At least no one had banished her. In fact, Willow never was expelled from the pack. Their alpha had returned, and he had finally mated with her sister. Kira became his queen. No one said it openly, but Willow remained convinced that without her brilliant curse, Logan might never have claimed Kira at all. Eventually, once Kira could remain away from Logan for more than a few minutes without appearing deeply unhappy about it, She asked the question Willow had hoped everyone would forget. What did the magician take from you? Willow's expression collapsed. She had almost managed not to think about it. Now the loss hurt all over again. My piggy bank. Kira stared. Your what? My piggy bank? Willow wailed. All my savings. Gone. Kira's mouth opened. That's it? That's it? I had almost $40. Willow looked genuinely devastated. I was saving for tickets to Disneyland. Kira stared at her, then sighed. She was certain Logan would immediately offer to buy the tickets. Kira was already preparing to stop him. Willow had cursed their alpha for over a year and nearly caused the entire pack to descend into feral violence. A free vacation hardly seemed like the correct reward. Still, something about the payment bothered Kira. A piggy bank did not sound like the usual terrible price attached to one of Adrian's wishes. So she visited the magician one last time. It represented more than money, Adrian explained. Your sister associated those savings with a dream. Kira listened. She wanted a normal, happy family experience with you, somewhere she felt safe, somewhere you could be happy together. He leaned back. The object seemed silly. What it represented wasn't. It wasn't what she loved most. My voice came sharply from the rear of the shop. Kira looked at me. I was still angry. And granting that wish made him sick for a month. Kira's expression immediately filled with guilt. Oh, I'm so sorry. I gave her a cold look. She wisely stopped. Thank you, she said instead. Then she looked at Adrian. Is there anything I can do? Adrian sighed. Make sure no one from your pack ever comes here again. Kira nodded. I can do that. The last visit upset Iris. His voice cooled. And I hate seeing her upset. Kira turned toward me, probably intending to apologize. Adrian lifted one hand. Don't talk to her. Kira blinked. Leave. She obeyed, but before passing me, she paused. No one from our pack will hurt you or your friend again. I gave her a short nod. Honestly, the wolves were not the real reason I was angry. Still, knowing they would stay away helped. Kira left. Adrian waited several seconds, then spoke. I made dinner. I turned on him. What about me? He began setting the table as if he had not heard. What happens to me if you die? He placed a glass with absurd concentration. Did you ever think about that? Adrian remained silent. I waited. Finally he spoke quietly. It's chicken piccata. I stared. Your favorite. He still did not look sorry. Not exactly. I suspected that if the same wolves returned tomorrow, Adrian might walk outside again. It's not my favorite. I left the room. That was a lie. Chicken piccata was what my father had always cooked for my birthday, and I was almost certain I had never told Adrian that.